To discuss To Autumn by John Keats. John Keats, as you know, a famous romantic poet. The poem To Autumn was written in the month of September 1819 and was published in the Lamia volume. Look here, Lamia volume in 1820. You have to remember this. Before going to discuss To Autumn as a poem, we should have a quick look on the features of the romantic poetry. Very shortly, outline features of the romantic poetry: it is imaginative in nature, that is imagination, love of nature, melancholy, medievalism, Hellenism, supernaturalism, subjectivity, and sublime or sublimity. Again, the main features rather of Keats's poetry. Keats's concept of beauty, his sensuousness, his Hellenism, his verbal magic. Okay. To Keats, beauty is truth, beauty. This is a famous line from Odo Grecian Arn. I have written this just to remember. You have to remember this. Next, ode. This poem is an ode. So, what is an ode? An ode is a kind of lyric poem, usually, look here. An ode is a kind of lyric poem, usually addressing and praising someone or something in its stanzaic structure. That means it is a poem in which the poet addresses something or someone, and he is also praising someone, and it is written in the stanzaic structure, and it is actually elaborate in style. Generally, there are major three types of odes: the regular ode or Pindaric ode, the irregular ode, and the Horatian ode. To Autumn, this poem is a Horatian ode. Horatian odes are generally short in length in comparison with the Pindaric odes. Okay, so in our present poem, the poet is addressing the autumn season and also praising its various aspects. Okay, the poem has three stanzas. The descriptions of various aspects of nature can be seen through these stanzas. In the first stanza, the poet describes autumn in its aspect of vegetation. Means in the first stanza, we will see that there is the description of flowers and fruits of nature. In the second stanza, the poet describes the different occupations of nature, occupations of autumn rather, as embodied in personality, as a harvester, as a reaper, as a gleaner, as a cider presser. In the third stanza, we shall see the poet describes the music, that means the sounds of different sounds of autumn season. Okay, next move to the text. Okay, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless. Season of mists, fog. And mellow fruitfulness means soft and ripe fruits. Close bosom friend of the maturing sun, that means close friend. Autumn is the close friend of sun. The maturing sun means the sun which ripens the fruits. It is not that the sun is mature, the sun which ripens the fruits, matures the fruits or ripens the fruits. Conspiring with him how to load and bless. Conspiring with him means autumn is conspiring with him means sun, as if autumn and sun both are secretly discussing how to load and bless, means how to make the vine creepers fill with fruits. How to load? Load means what is load? The with fruits means the with grapes. Autumn and sun both are discussing how to load the fruit, that means load the grapes to the vine creepers. The vines means vine creepers. That the thatch eaves run. Thatch eaves means the overhanging roof or overhanging portion of the roof of a thatched cottage. Thatched cottage means low roofed cottage. So this is overhanging edges of the roofs of thatched cottages. That means the vine creepers that are growing on the outside edges of the roof of the low height huts, low huts. To bend with apples the moss cottage trees, and these sun and autumn also conspiring the apple trees to it is so much loaded. The sun and the autumn, they both will bless the apple trees with so much fruits that the branches of the trees are going down with the heavy weight of the apples. Mossed cottage trees means moss covered cottage trees. Moss, moss is a kind of a green plant without any root or leaves. It's a kind of bryophyta. Biological term, you can see what is moss and how it is covered. So this is moss, and moss covered trees. Okay. So these moss covered apple trees are, the branches of the moss covered apple trees are going towards the ground with the heavy weight of the apples and fill all fruits with ripeness to the core, and the autumn and the sun also making all the fruits ripe up to the core, means completely ripen. Next, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel cells with a sweet kernel. Swell the gourd means increase the size of the gourd, that is gourd, pumpkin. Plump means fatten. Plump, that is also increasing the size. Plump means fatten the hazel cells, hazelnuts, with a sweet kernel. Actually, to nurture the hazelnuts and fill with the nuts, fill the core of the nuts with a sweet kernel means soft and juicy pulp. You can just have a look on what is hazelnut. This is hazelnut. Okay, and inside of this nut there is a sweet kernel, is white portion. Okay, so hazel cells with sweet kernels means autumn and the sun is blessing also the hazelnuts to become filled with the sweet kernels will pulp to set budding more. Also they are continuously helping to the flowers to blossom continuously for more and more, still more continuously. Later flowers for the bees. Flowers of autumn is called later flowers for the bees until they think the warm days will never cease. Until they think warm days will never cease. Actually, the bees in their mind, they keep the idea that flowers are available in the summer season only, because it is a cold country. This poem is written in England, so it is a cold country. It is written in their culture, in their weather, in their atmosphere. So summer is associated with flowers in the cold countries. So the bees are thinking that still flowers are blossoming, so they are still thinking that summer days are continuing. Okay, and summer has already overbrimmed their clammy cells, overflowed their clammy cells, overflowed their honeycomb filled with honey, filled their storage of honey. Clammy means sticky, cells means the storage of honeycomb. Sticky cells. Actually, honey is sticky, gum-like. So this is up to the first stanza. In the first stanza, the poet describes the vegetation, that means fruits and flowers of autumn. Coming to the second stanza, where we will see the poet will describe the different occupations of nature and occupations of autumn in the bounty of nature. That is called bounty of nature. Okay. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Thee means autumn. Autumn is personified here, and the poet is asking, who hath not seen thee amid thy store. Oft means often. Thy store means here. Thy store means here. Occupations. Remember, thy store means occupations. It is asking, it's a rhetorical question. Who hath not seen thee often amid thy store? The poet is asking, anybody can see you in your different occupations. Sometimes whoever seeks, so a person who can seek or who is in the search of autumn can find. Seeks abroad. Abroad means here the open world outside. Okay, the open world, it's outside. It's not the other country. Don't take the dictionary meaning. May find, sometimes whoever actually, the person who is seeking autumn, he can find, may find you means you, sitting careless on a granary floor. So this is the picture of the granary floor means it is the picture of a harvester. Autumn is embodied here as a harvester. So the harvester is seen carelessly, absent-mindedly on a granary floor. Granary floor means the floor of a house where the grains is stored. So the first picture is the harvester. Thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. The harvester is seen sitting on the granary floor, sitting in the floor of his storehouse, and his hair is ruffling gently by the winnowing wind. Winnowing wind. Winnow is a kind of a hand fan like instrument which is used generally to create airflows, and that type of wind or airflows separates the corn from the chaffs. See what is winnowing. Picture of winnowing. Yeah, it is there. This is winnowing. So this is winnowing. So have you seen what is winnowing? So the hair of the harvester is gently ruffling with this kind of wind. Next line, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep. Half-reaped furrow sound asleep. This is the picture of a reaper. Reaper means cutter, who cuts the corn. So the reaper is seen in the midst of cutting the corn in the field. He has fallen asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies. Drowsed, feeling sleepy. Drowsed means feeling sleepy. The fume means scent of poppies, poppy flowers. Poppies, opium is made, narcotic opium is made from poppies. Fume of poppies. So drowsed with the fume of poppies means the reaper is seen fallen asleep and drowsing with the scent of poppies. While his hook, that is instrument of cutting the corn, spares means stops the next swath. Next swath means swath, the next row of the corn which to be cut. While the reaper is sleeping, his hook is left in the next swath, and that hook is twined with poppy flowers and the stalks of grain. Spares the next swath means his hook stops cutting and it is lying on the next swath edge. The reaper has already fallen asleep, and the stalks of grain and the poppy flowers etc. are entwined with the hook. Next picture. And sometimes like the gleaner. Here is a picture of gleaner. Gleaner means the person who collects the sheaves of the corns after harvesting is done. Gleaner generally a girl, and sometimes like a gleaner who thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook. This is a beautiful picture in which the gleaner is coming after his or her day's work, and she is crossing a brook. Brook means little river, and the bundle of sheaves which she has collected all through the day is gracefully balancing automatically on her head. This is a beautiful picture. Or by a cider press. Cider press, you know what is cider press? This a kind of machine from which apple juice are is extracted. That man is called cider presser. With a patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. This is the another picture where the cider presser is sitting by his cider press machine, patiently watching the apple juice, the drop of the apple juice coming out of the machine for a long time. Hours after hours means for a long time. You can see what is a cider press. These are the pictures, you can Google it. Cider press machine. This is also machine in which the apples are thrust and juices are coming through these portions. So these are the four bounty of nature we have seen in the second stanza. So moving one important thing, this is Hellenism. What is Hellenism? Hellenism is kind of Greek reference or following the Greek cultures. So in this passage this passage reveals Keats's Hellenism, his power of visualizing, like the ancient Greeks, the natural objects. So the ancient Greeks imagined the natural objects in concrete human forms. So it done by the poet Keats here. The natural objects or natural phenomena are imagined in concrete human forms. So this is the culture or attitude of the ancient Greeks. So Keats had followed it. So this is Hellenism, or the reference of Greek culture, following the Greek culture. Moving to the next stanza, where we will see the music of autumn, as I have already discussed before beginning this lecture. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. Actually, many poets, generally the romantic poets, they describes the beauties of spring, but Keats here describes the beauties of autumn. Here also, where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. The poet is addressing autumn that do not go for the sweet music of spring. You have your own music. You have own music that is also beautiful, that is also good. Okay. Next, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day. This is a beautiful picture of a sunset. Barred clouds means streaks of clouds looking like bars with white lines of fleece-like clouds, or the white cotton-like clouds. And these kind of clouds bloom means becomes red or reddened by the light of the setting sun in the time of twilight, and touch the stubble plains, and that light of the setting sun fell on the stubble plains, means from the cornfield from which the corns or crops has been already cut, and the remaining portion of the plants or the seedlings are there. That means the stumps, cornfields from which the corn has been cut, and only the stumps are remaining there. That is stubble plains. That cornfield also is filled with the rosy light of the setting sun. Rosy hue means color, rosy color of the setting sun. Then next, in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn. This is the picture of evening, autumnal evening. This is the verbal magic of Keats, the beautiful description of autumnal evening, Wailful means sorrowful. Choir means choir, chorus. Band of singers, group of singers. Small gnats mourn. Small gnats, kind of fly. Mourn means mournful sound. Actually, next line I am reading. Among the rivers, hallows. Hallows means low bushes or the trees of the low height trees near the river. So actually, in the evening, the humming swarms of the gnats are heard from the bushes near the river. So the humming swarms of the gnats on the warm autumnal evening is heard. And humming, humming means making continuous noise, means the noise of mosquitoes, a group of mosquitoes. Humming, a kind of song or sound closing with your lips. Look, I am giving you an example. What is humming? In case of mine or in case of a human being. So this seems to be parallel with the sound of mosquitoes. Pardon me. So these kind of sounds are coming from the gnats, group of gnats, humming sounds, coming from the group of gnats from the bushes nearby the rivers. So this sound borne aloft means this sound is carried high or low, or sinking means or low, as the light wind leaves or dies. When the speed of wind leaves means increases, the sound of the gnats can be heard, or dies means cannot be heard, means the sound is decreasing when the speed of the wind is decreasing. So this is a beautiful picture of the evening. And the full grown lambs loud bleat from a hilly bourne. That means, this is a beautiful picture, evening picture from the village side. The domestic animals like lambs, sheep, goats, they are going to they had gone to that hilly bourne means hillsides, and in the evening they are coming back, their pack rather, they are coming back making loud sounds. Just imagine a picture, so many goats, so many sheep are coming to home, coming to their house, or coming to the house in the time of evening and making sounds. It is evening, hedge crickets begin to sing. Hedge crickets sing. Hedge crickets, the grasshoppers, the sound of the hedge crickets are also available here in the time of evening. And now with treble soft, the redbreast whistles from the garden croft. Treble, musical term, treble, high pitched sound. Soft means here. When sometimes the redbreast robin whistles, the sound of the redbreast robin is sometimes high, sometimes low. From a garden croft means the garden of a house, the household garden of a house. Croft means a small piece of enclosed land adjoining a dwelling house. That means a house in front of which there is a garden and it is enclosed. From that garden, redbreast robin's whistles sounds are coming. Sometimes it is high, sometimes it is low, and the hedge crickets also begins to sing in the evening. So these are the sounds of nature, as I have already discussed. This is the beautiful music of autumn season. And at last line, the gathering swallows twitter in the skies. The last line, gathering swallows twitter in the skies. The swallow, swallows are the migratory bird who generally go to the warm countries in the time of winter. So gathering swallows twitter indicate their annual migration at the approach of winter. So in that very last line, Keats hinted approach of winters, that is, the winter is associated with death and decay. All throughout the poem, he has praised the autumn season, but in the last line there is the indication of death and decay with the coming of the winter. So this is the discussion of the text. Thank you very much.